Hi, this is Damien from AtHope, and I am an axiological atheist, which should be understood as a value theory or a value science atheist. And I want to talk to you today about debating. You know, that fun thing that we have to do all the time, especially as an atheist activist or a humanist activist. But debate in general to me is two people arguing over an idea or a set of ideas. And the biggest thing when I engage in those is not really to win. It's not to prove people wrong. It's really that my general desire is truth. And that gives my style a little bit of a different way of approaching things. So I call my style truth navigation because my goal is really to offer what I believe is truth and to investigate what truth is supposedly being offered to me by the other person. So often I'll ask a lot of questions before offering a lot of my statements sometimes because I want to really understand what the other person is projecting as their belief. That way, when I address the thinking or the belief itself, I'm not addressing a straw man, or which is something that they haven't actually stated, or presenting something that they state in a way that's not actual, addressing what they're trying to say. So to me, it's more powerful because when you can use the truth, in a discussion, to me also is to use it in a way that's productive. I try to think of myself as a teacher and also as a fellow learner. I'm learning. I'm trying to teach. I'm also willing, to be taught. Sometimes, there are times that people know, a particular issue in a way that I don't understand. I don't know. And so I can sometimes learn. Often I'm also helping others to think or certainly explore their own beliefs better than they already had. So anyways, let's go on to the thing. So truth navigation is my basic thing, and it's techniques for discussions or debates. So I do truth navigation both as inquiry in questions as well as strategic facts that I tag team, in my form of debate, which I consider to be kind of like motivational teaching. And my eclectic set of tools involves what I call the hammer of truth as one of the things. And to me, what that is three different philosophies or types of inquiry in philosophy, and so those are the three things that I like to use in the succession that I think that they're most applicable or most useful. So the first one is ontology, the next is epistemology, and then the last one is axiology. So I'm going to go in and explain in a little more depth how I use those. Ontology to me is like the what of what someone's talking about. Ontology means like the thingness of things, and that can be anything from the truth itself. What is the thing? What qualities, in a sense, what's the ontology? What qualities does truth have? So we can actually know when we find it if it's something we can find. And then epistemology is the questioning of how you know that, and how that you're claiming to know that. How do you get to know that? How do we know what things can be known? And, what is knowledge and what is reason? And so that's real important. And then axiology is the study of value. And the value is real important at differentiating two things from each other, knowing one as the qualities of fact and one as the non, qualities, so thus is not fact. And but anyways, those are just the overarching, hammer of truth tools that I use. And whenever I don't know something or something gets confusing, always go back to ontology. Okay, what are you talking about? They're talking about, oh, you don't understand me? to me, I don't find it's very beneficial to keep regurgitating. Just go, okay, re-explain it. Okay, tell me. Okay, show me the proof. Okay, explain it to me. And so to me, that's a real important thing. So then my style that I use when I'm debating with people, like my own personal thinking, is that I use reason, evidence, and methodological skepticism. And methodological skepticism is different from philosophic skepticism, and that methodological skepticism is about inquiry towards truth, where philosophic skepticism could doubt the ability of truth or doubt existence or reality even itself. Could be. Not that all skepticism has to be that, but I'm just saying that's the difference particularly between methodological skepticism, as it's basically a scientific type of skepticism, or a rationalist skepticism that basically wants to know what is true. And so when things are offered, it basically, opinion is that all things are always open to question. All things are open to challenge. All things are open to reinterpretation upon valid and reliable evidence of what is true. So it's a seeking of truth. So that's what I call REMS, which is reason, evidence, and methodological skepticism. And then I also use what I call utilizing dignity. Now, to me, dignity is the quality of a person. Like when we say human rights, they have human rights. What you mean is that you're acknowledging that they have a dignity that should be, validated and not infringed upon. And so to me, understanding this, though, this is a real important tool that I use all the time with people. And to me, there's two different approaches. So one is basically a strategic dignity attacks. And these are not character attacks. These are basically like if someone is a troll, instead of telling them that you're a troll, you're ugly, you're hideous, or whatever, you say that your behavior is lacking character. So that would be my form of a dignity attack. I'm attacking their behavior, and I'm doing it in a way that is actually holding them accountable to credible behavior. So that's how and it's very powerful because it allows people to take inventory of what they're doing. And it's, in a sense, it's a way of fighting without fighting, because in a sense you're attacking them, but you're really addressing ethically what they're doing is an unethical behavior, or is a harmful behavior, or is an abusive behavior, or is just a negative behavior in general in social, interaction. And so these are ways that you can do the attack, in a sense, to their dignity, but you do it in a very honorable way that is I always say, always attack things that people could change like that if they chose to. So I try not to attack qualities of things that are unchangeable, because my goal is really to change and get people into productive behavior. Because to me, I think that if you get to a more productive behavior, a way of doing things, you get into a different mindset. And when you get into a mindset, then you're open to new ideas, or to even new thinking of your own ideas. And so this is a beneficial. I also believe in dignity enrichments. And I don't believe in lying. So I don't believe in just telling people nice things so that they want to hear, so that they feel good. What I think dignity enrichments is that you can say things that when you see, like, so I've had before, people are starting to get it, what I'm talking about. I tell them, see, you're doing really good. You're understanding. I'm doing dignity enrichments. I'm promoting and positively motivating them to, continue the behavior they are doing. And to me, these are real important because this really allows the attitude in even a debate to be more congenial, or certainly more civil. And when you do this, you really open the place for people to learn. I mean, to me, I always try to think about what I'm doing, and I don't claim to be perfect, and I'm not saying even though I have all these tools that I'm able to employ every single one of them, accuracy, all times. That's ridiculous. It's a goal. I have standards. I have methods. So, and I try to adhere to them because they're useful and they're also effective. And so, to me, I try to think of it that if I'm the other person, it's almost like they talk about empathy. You think in the other person's shoes. Just think, you're this person that doesn't believe, let's just say my atheism. How could anyone not believe in God? When you're a believer, the thought of that, not even a different God, just that someone could think there isn't any God. I remember when I was a believer, and I was until 36, the thought of that would have been like ludicrous to me. Like, I wouldn't even know how to consider that. But it's because I hadn't really ever considered it, and that's why I believed. And to me, that's why a lot of people, it's funny how it's called religious belief, but yet it's more like a religious acceptance. In other words, someone in power said, hey, this is our religion, or this is the real truth, or this is your faith. And people just go, okay. They just accept. So it's like we have a world of acceptors, more really than a world of believers. They believed what they were told to accept. Anyway, so that's why it's important to understand my next thing, which is dialectical rhetoric. That's what I call it. Dialectical in the sense that my thing is a search for truth, questions for truth. It's a yearning to understand truth. And then rhetoric is the ability to motivate and promote ideas. And so rhetoric can often be full of lies, but it doesn't have to be. It just means the ability to motivate and persuade others. Now, that's real important for me to add to the truth, because if you're persuading without truth, then you're just a liar. And I don't want to promote lies or lying. And so, so in a sense, dialectical rhetoric for me is a form of truth persuasion or a motivational teaching. And it's the ability, what I feel is you take a fact and see, like a lot of people, they say facts don't work on people. Well, to me, you just can't take a fact, and punch someone in the face with it and expect them to listen. To me, it has to be offered as a gift that you're offering to them, and then they can unwrap it for themselves. And so, not that I could always do it in that exact way, but that's a goal. My goal is to try to offer the truth where they can have the ability to investigate if they wish. And I believe people own themselves. And so to me, I don't think that I have a right to just attack someone because of a belief. But when they say a belief is a truth, then I attack the claim that what they believe is true, if it is, I feel, not true. Or I question, define, investigate. Is it true? How much is true? Is it half true? Is it not even true at all? So I want to investigate. But dialectical rhetoric to me is that how I present the truth. Like if I said, well, science is true. Well, that doesn't help you. Even if that was the actual case of the world. If I said the world is spinning right now, and thus, faith isn't valid, you wouldn't understand. But when I put it in context, when I say science is true, and we know this because of the accuracy of the tests that are able to reproduce and come up with, the scientific laws and come up with the scientific theories that explain those laws and all the things that go on. Anyways, I'm saying is, so for science, all that is true. But yet, it doesn't really even matter. It's like saying evolution is true. We know this because the preponderance of the evidence, demonstrates it to be the case. So, the best way to do it, though, really to me, is to try to figure out how to present the truth in a way that I would do it if it was my friend. They go, hey, did you know that evolution is true? Did you know it's true because we have these fossils? And when someone says, no, it's not, I don't get super angry or something. I understand it's just upon me to try to be better at explaining it. And so sometimes I have to explain in different ways, because sometimes the trust is not in evolution. It's a mistrust in general of science of why that they have an issue with the trust of evolution. But it really, even that really goes back to the religion. So even though the problem of getting the information in that evolution is true is the end result that we're trying to do, the problem goes back to they doubt science. Why they doubt science? Because they actually need to believe religion. And to believe religion, that takes faith. So really my issue is not to focus on the fact they don't believe evolution. It's realize the faith problem. And so I try to show them faith is not a valid method. And that science is a valid method because they even use things that work, like their phone, like the computer. I mean, science proves itself because of its usefulness in helping our everyday lives. Where religion, it is basically a mental idea that sells a bunch of mental ideas that talk about reality, but are only conspiracy theories of reality because they don't produce anything. They don't show anything. They basically, are like little self-help, cults in a sense because people feel it helps them, but really it doesn't. It's a cult, and like a lot of cults, they prey on the vulnerable, and you see this in the fact that most religions indoctrinate children. It's always funny to me how religion is claimed as a belief. And if it's a belief, then why don't you let your children come to believe and not be forced to? So it's really about asking the right questions at the right time, in the right way, with the right info. And that, if I can do it with the right attitude sometimes, can change minds. And that sometimes is my own error. I'm human. I get frustrated. It can be frustrating, especially sometimes people are losing, like to call names and all kinds of stuff. And I have to try to be above that. And I think that all of us should err in trying to find truth and try to remove as much, of our own feelings as we can. But, we realize, though, we just cannot throw facts like at a wall and hope they stick, or, throw facts at people and expect them to grab them. I have to present them in a certain way. I do understand this, though, that denial likes consistency. In other words, most people will put up a front and they'll push real hard at first. But if you keep pushing with care and you just keep pushing and you just keep asking honest questions about the truth and try not to be upset, I'm telling you, it allows people. It breaks the consistency. It's hard to stay in that denial when you just keep getting bombarded with thinking. It is not very easy. And so the pattern of thinking for a person who wants to stay in belief is that the pattern can't vary. So they have to keep like their script, their thing. So what the questions like the hammer of truth does, when you do ontology, say, what are you talking about? Like when I say, what is a God? And they'll say, well, a God is this, is it? No. How do you know what the God is to even say it could have any said qualities? Everybody's starting like the God is a given. I don't know what a God is. And so you're asking exploratory things. Okay. They say, well, God is, all powerful. Yeah, what's a God then? First, you said God is. What is a God? All powerful is a quality of a thing that you're claiming. What is the thing you're claiming? And then like epistemology, let's say they somehow believe they can tell me, because I'm guaranteed, in a sense, when you actually asking the correct and it's question about the God, they cannot answer it because they do not have, unless they're just quoting out of the air or picking it out of a holy book, which doesn't make it valid. And that goes back to the epistemology. How do you know that? Well, because of so let's just say they believe in the Christian God because of the Bible. Well, what is the Bible? How do you know what the Bible is? How do you know that what is stated in the Bible is accurate? How do you know that even if it was accurate, that there was supernatural something, how do you know that the Bible understands what the supernatural thing could be? How do you know? And to me, this is really good, and people will always try to run away from how they know something. Just like when you ask them what something is. Like I've asked many people, what is spiritual? Because they say, oh, I'm spiritual but not religious. What is spiritual? I don't know what that is. Well, it's a feeling. Well, then it's a feeling. It's not magic. Then it's nothing. You're just giving a new name or a old name for a new thing. You're just calling it something different. You start asking people, then you make them. How do you know that? Well, we're all energy. How do you know that? How do you know we're all energy, and energy is what equals spirits? What if energy doesn't equal spirits? How do you know that? Why do you say that? And when you start really getting them to assess what they're thinking, how they're thinking, to me, what I'm really addressing is the fact that most people do not have belief etiquette. They do not have belief standards. They simply, like a wild child in a candy factory, just run around, let loose, grabbing everything they can, eating until they're gorged, not thinking about it at all. I was the same way. So it's not like I'm saying that it is impossible for me to do that. I've done it. What I do now is try to be diligent and keep assessing my thinking and keep questioning stuff and making sure. And then being open to criticism and open, to correction. It doesn't mean that I accept what most or anybody says, but it means I'm open. I will think about it. I will assess its reason. Because I really, once again, my goal is, as much as possible, to try to do a truth navigation. I want to know what's true. I want to do what's right. So, if you can get into people's denial, which likes to be consistent, and you mess up that pattern, and you overturn it, and you make them explore it, they will run the risk the truth could slip in. And that is what I try to do, is slip in that truth. And then I try to push it in deeper with reason. See why this is important? Do you get what is going on? I try to get them to understand. I try to help people, if I can, to alter skewed thinking. It is indeed a large task, but it is most definitely, to me, a worthy endeavor. It's something I want to do. I think that, in general, I try, and I desire, and I seek for an ethical character in arguments and debates. I wish to not simply be one-sided, and only seek some kind of a truth that validates everything I think. I really am open. And I have changed a lot, in the last 10 years because I've been open. I've wanted to change, and I've strived to become a lot more positive person, and how I interact, and making sure that I can, if I can be, as much as possible, be ethical, no matter. I mean, this period. People have told me to F off. They've called me names. They told me I'm stupid. They told me I have no education. They call me gay. They call me fat, whatever. They call me all kinds of things. But the whole point is, that's them. I want to make sure that my behavior is ethical. So some of the things that help me not get so upset, I try to think about, is these 6 things. The first 3 are don't, and then the last, they don't do it, or sort of. And then the other ones is what to do, like how you utilize. So the first one for me is always don't assume, ask. That's the ontology. When they say this is that, whatever, what is that? Explain it to me. Help me understand. What are you talking about? What do you believe? What are you saying? What are you thinking? So don't assume, and then also strive to understand and not just react. I try to slow myself down and not just for a second, just try to clear all my ideas that what I'm going to do or not do, what I believe or not believe, and I just try to listen for a second. And I just try to assess with my critical thinking, is this reasonable? And I, like I said, I go back to, the REMS for me: reason, evidence, and methodological skepticism. Does it make sense in reason? Or does it violate reason? Do they have evidence? Is it evidence? Or is it not evidence? Is it lacking evidence? And then my methodological skepticism. Everything presented to me needs to be challenged, needs to be questioned, needs to be analyzed and searched for truth. And like I said, I use the hammer of truth to search for truth. The ontology. What are you talking about? The epistemology. How do you know that? Axiology. What value does it have? So, other thing I have is don't see them as the enemy. So the first one is don't assume, to ask, and then the other one is don't see them as the enemy. They are a fellow learner. And I try to do this in my mind because I try to I'm a very arrogant person, but I don't let it really hurt other people. But I'm an arrogant person. I feel very sure of myself, and that also makes me have to go back to my methodological skepticism, make sure I test my thinking, because I can have some strong thoughts, but I'm also open to change sometimes if I see it. Anyways, so I realize I'm a fellow learner. This is really important for me because I have to, even though I feel like a lot of times I'm the teacher, I want to be a fellow learner too. I always want to be open. I don't know it all. I don't even probably know half, but of some things. But it doesn't matter. I'm open. I've had people that don't know almost anything about something I know a lot about, but they just say one thing, and I'm like, that's a good thought. So I want to be open. I want to be able to. And this to me is real important, to not get angry. For me, don't see them as the enemy. They're a fellow learner. And then the next one to me is don't see it as win and lose. That is probably helped me get over being angry like you have no tomorrow. I used to always, I had to win. I don't want to be seen as losing. Now it's about teaching. I just want to teach. I just want to help. I just want to address. And when I say teaching all the time, I want to promote right thinking. I want to promote ethical thinking. I want to promote truth. I want to promote the desire for truth and the desire for ethical behavior. And that goes back to their things that help me not, have issues as much in debates. Is my thing that I want to utilize nice behavior. Interactions with people, how I treat them. I want to treat them good. I want to use as much as possible nice language. What I mean by that is I'm not saying cursing, because I'll say fuck or whatever, but what I mean by nice language is that how we talk to people, how I present facts. Like I don't say, here's the truth, dumbass, or something. I mean, that is not, that's bad behavior to me, and it's not nice language. And the fact that I shouldn't be doing that, because I always try to think about a debate. Why am I doing this? What does this matter? Because I want it to matter. I don't want to just waste my time. I don't have that much time to just waste. I have a lot of things I need to do. And so I do want to get it through. And so what I really want is actually to promote better thinking, to promote rationalism in the world, to promote ethics. And so that then my behavior needs to model that or mirror that or promote that, or certainly not, be so off that it is against that. And so the other thing I have is a nice voice, and I can get aggressive and sometimes, especially, and when I get upset, and I'm trying really to tone down, calm down. It's hard. I'm an aggressive person, but I have that desire, and I think it's a good desire to have, to try to be. Just because I'm loud all the time does not mean I think that's the correct way to be. I'm from, Southern California, and I was raised in a kind of a rough area, and my personality is kind of rough, but I'm also caring. I'm a nice person. I just happen to be rough. But I care about trying to, because I understand other people don't know my life. They don't know all they hear is it sounds, aggressive. And so I'm really trying to, but it's hard. I'm really not a calm person. So this goes back to my thinking about dignity. Because when I say about other people, how they need to be treated, why should I do, in a sense, nice behavior? Why should I do nice language? Why should I do nice voice? So I really think it goes back to the thing of dignity. In my thinking, this involves and encompasses the phenomenological, and the phenomenological is like our experience of or our perception of. Like if I say I feel fear right now, there's no physical threat, so it's something that's happening inside me. And so it's like the experiential or the psychological awareness, the cognitive realization, all these are involved in dignity. It's our awareness of who we are, our rights, our visualization, our emotional sensitivity. It's our sense of self. To me, it's that thing that we're feeling is attacked, and it's the emotional understanding about our sense of self that I feel like dignity kind of encompasses. This is the thing, though. Sometimes when you're dealing with religious people, they put dignity thing from them onto Jesus, say, or Muhammad, or Vishnu or Krishna or something. They put which should only belong in a sense to a real being with feelings and emotions and that contains a dignity. They put this dignity on, say, Christianity. Anything you do to talk about Christianity to them is an dignity attack, even though to me it's ridiculous, because ideas do not have a right to exist. They don't have a dignity to violate. There's nothing no properties of ideas that has feelings. It's an error in thinking, but it's something they do. So when I address the religions or God beliefs, I know that often I'm also to them attacking their dignity. So I have to understand that. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to do it because they're in error. That's actually that their ideas don't have dignity. People do. Anyways, what we need to understand as well as acknowledge, though, or as we should, is honor others and see them as fellow beings of dignity. Because to me, this rationalization helps you when you're in the interaction with others, especially ones you don't like. Yeah, I may not like them, but they're still a fellow being of dignity to me. And I acknowledge that value that we're involved in. That I'm really, that in other words, the value, the quality that I'm trying to enrich in them. That they're valuable enough to in a sense to seek truth, to want truth. I think that truth is such a harsh thing to some people, but it is the truth. We can work from that. Once you understand, it's like saying, you have a whole stock house of things that you say are going to be great sellers, but nobody's buying. Well, then it's not great. And it's time to clear them out and get, new stuff. Some ideas are completely, reasonable to think, as a child, there could be magic in the world. But then as an adult, after learning science and I've seen, the evidence in the world and experiencing a life that is completely devoid of anything magical, a critical thinker would go, yeah, this religion thing isn't true. This God thing, oh, if it is true, it's not evident in reality, so it's not beneficial to me in any way. So to me, that's just a simple, thing. And since things like that are not real things, like ideas, even though they're not true, I still think we should, strive to be understanding. I do understand that they think that way. And I don't go, oh, you're stupid, you just think that way. I really try to be understanding. What I mean by understanding is compassionate and kind. I want to be compassionate and kind. I don't want to attack the person. I want to attack the ideas. Because I understand that to attack the person, to me, would be to violate their dignity. It's like attacking their human rights, their worth. their sense of being. I don't want to do that. And I don't feel like even if you do that, it would aid in truth. But the not doing it, not attacking people's dignity, but addressing the ideas allows people to change, to me. See, to me, our dignity is involved when we feel connected to things. Feelings with people, we feel like, that love thing. A lot of times we want to validate their dignity. We want to appreciate them. Like we have animals or plants in our house. We want to give them pet names, or we're like trained to humanize them and anthropomorphize them. And this includes even places, oh, like this special place. And it could just be that something special to us happened there. And so our phenomenology is we remember this wonderful experience, and then we make it into some magical thing. We're emotional beings. We get emotional errors, in a sense. We think emotions are real. In other words, that emotions somehow produce reality. They don't. Doesn't mean emotions aren't real in the fact that we feel them, but emotions they're not like, if I go to a place and I feel that there's, something there, that doesn't mean that there's something there. So this is important because this shows the emotional dynamic that's connected, for at least to me, in my opinion, to the dignity, and that's how they bond that to my God, because then that they're attaching the mine, my God, my religion, my faith, my family, my pet, my sports team. It's not that there's ever a problem with attaching dignity to these things. My issue is that when you address these things, this is the impact of what they feel. Like I said, this is just, it doesn't mean that I'm going to say, okay, well then let's not do it. No, we should address falsehoods. We should be promoting truth. This is an ethical thing, I think, to do. And the fact that people get emotionally, upset about it, well, it's not truth, so you're believing the not truth. But I think we should do it with compassion, though I'm willing to try to help. You understand? In this involvement, challenging the emotional bond of dignity, is really challenging people's God's faith, and it's a difficult task. Excuse me. But it's important because that is what, to me, I feel like I do that is very beneficial to move people's thinking along. So what's happening to me when they're putting this dignity is they're basically attributing something to sacred. And to me, once you have sacred, it's almost like it follows that something has to be taboo. Because if it's special, then it has special rules. When it has special rules, then things can't be done to it. Just like somehow people believe that every other thing can be talked about, but you can't talk about someone's religion, including if it's false. Or if they make false claims, because somehow they're going to get their feelings hurt, and that's going to somehow violate their rights. No, your ideas are not free from challenge. To attribute something as sacred, to me, is to attach an extremely emotionally high dignity bond to it. And this is why people will say, I'll die for my religion, or I'll die for my God, or I'll, People get into that mentality because, now, like I said, I think that what they're doing in a sense is hijacking something that is not unhealthy, like my family. I don't think there's anything wrong with my family. I don't think there's anything wrong with, my kids, my spouse. I mean, some of the things, that people, you should have a dignity bond. Those were with real people. It's when they try to move that to things that aren't. Because, they're not just making a statement when they say, oh, it's my God. They just don't mean it like it's a state of fact of their belief. They mean that they have, in a sense, emotional, deep connection, they think, with this idea. And so when I attack and address this idea, they will often be very affected. And I've seen people, even when I do street debate, that have this one chick I remember, she... I thought she was almost going to cry because she really kind of got how bad her faith was. And I don't just mean that the lack of evidence for. I just mean that she was a Christian and she was really feeling like, what were the things I was saying and what kind of a being would this be? And it really made her feel ashamed of believing in such a harmful thing. And but then immediately I don't keep pushing it, try to dig it in. No, I try to become, I can understand how you feel that way. I understand. To me, it's we don't lose our humanity. To me, we shouldn't. I mean, atheists to me, and doing debate, it should be about truth, and it should be about really helping other people. These people don't understand something we do. We shouldn't be shouting at them. We should be helping them. So to me, it's about addressing this bond. So to me, we have to understand this bond, to this dignity bond that they make, this seemingly to special things to them, these ideas. They carry some sort of an actuality to them because they've dignified them in a sense. So it's important because then if we can to stop addressing just the lack of the evidence, but the connection they have. So it's the conception that allows this connection, right? So that's why we go back to me, we do ontology, which is the what. What is a God? Because if you're going to put dignity in this thing, I'm asking you what it is. And if you claim to have put dignity or you have this great love or this great, then you should know it. And if I ask you questions, you should be able to explain it. And if you can't, you start to realize maybe you don't know it. And I have a blog where I had a debate with this atheist philosopher. I say I'm a philosopher because I'm an autodidact and I've learned philosophy and I enjoy debating and thinking and rationalism. But this person is a philosopher that teaches at a college. Anyways, we were debating, the word spiritual, and it finally came down. And I told him that in all things I believe in justificationism. And that, even if he could try to show me, because he said he didn't believe everything had to be justified. And I was like, can you, justify that statement? And I don't think that it's something like that we have to be able to justify everything we want to think. But if we want others to think it, others to take it as, true, well, then we're going to have a justification. It's just that simple. Unless people like to do blind belief, which I don't. So it basically came down that he could not justify the word spiritual to me because I asked him the ontology. And we never, in a sense, moved off of ontology that much. Maybe a little epistemology, but back to basically the whole debate was an ontology one to me. And then the epistemology, just the fact that you're not using justificationism. But and then once he agreed, that he saw that, he agreed that things should be justified, instead of like, where I could have, tried to push harder on my thinking, I try to be, okay, because I once someone, because the goal is actually, is to move the thinking along. And my goal is not like to hurt people and stuff. So I don't try to force it down them. I try to, to value that they're trying to, like I said, we're fellow learners. I want someone to treat me like that. I want someone to, try to help me if I don't understand and have compassion for me. Although I have no compassion for ideas. If you're going to put a claim, it needs to have a reality justification, or it's not a real thing. So, and I will openly say that faith is foolish. I'm not saying that I think people are bad people that use faith. I think that faith is a foolish thing to use. If you're trying to know the credibility, the reality, the actuality, the depth, the anything of anything. Faith to me is basically offering strong belief in things that, because of the lack of evidence, should more rightly demand strong doubt, at least. But people do it faith, not because of a fact thing, but a feelings thing. Which goes back to why I was talking so much about dignity and why I think it has to be involved anyways. So, however, I usually don't call people names. I really try not to ever call people names unless I'm doing a dignity attack in an ethically positive way that's challenging their negative behavior. Not just call people names like, to be mean. So I think that this also, can be done that we're striving to attack the thinking that's being addressed or the bad behavior, not the person. In other words, you did A, B, C unethically is not the same as saying because you did A, B, C unethically, you are an unethical person. And going further, you could say, and you're not an ethical person because you've always been, say inherently sinful or evil, or, like the religious people like to say. But I'm just saying, so people just sit there and dignity attack. They're just, I don't want to do that. To me, when I say that it's wrong, like say to hurt someone, I'm addressing it's wrong to violate their dignity. Let's say just like it's wrong to kill a person, that a person, is appealing to our need to value them and their dignity. When someone's challenging me, I try to think of, that this is an opportunity, for me to try to help them. And since I value my time, I want to try to do the best job I can. And I also understand, too, that a lot of times people are reading discussions I'm having, or if I'm out in the public and I do, a debate, people there are going to know. Or if I do a presentation, they're going to know in public. Or if I am just out in public and I challenge and do activism, when I'm doing that, it's still the same thing to me. All of it is that I need to make sure that I try to keep my behavior as best I can and value other people. And I understand that this has a moral weight. It has a quality. It has a value in doing it. And like I said, to me, these are things that are just so vital in doing a good debate. Addressing the understanding of the moral weight of what people are thinking or doing. Like, to me, there's an ethics of belief. That ethically, truth should demand that we require evidence. That we require things to make sense, that we require logic, that we require a scientific mindset. And to me, it's just a methodological in a sense. There's more than that, but I'm just saying the methodological mindset. It's a mindset that everything has to be, follow things, that we don't just let any nonsense in, and that we don't just push nonsense on others. To me, I had someone tell me, so what do I think the best ways are to cultivate dignity? And to me, dignity is not a fixed thing. And when our dignity feels honored, or when we're honoring others, as well as helping, and others, they experience that phenomenological experience of helping, it allows them to feel the care. And when they feel the care, like they trust more. And just like anybody would. If I can, and I try to, if I can transmit that I really care about helping, that I really am trying to help them understand, then even if they think I'm wrong, they're generally willing to listen to me and interact with me. And so to me, this is very productive in debate. And I feel that, especially, I've seen online that people they're just atrocious when it comes to, utilizing dignity in a constructive, ethical way. So, it's something that people need to, think about is, as a debater, when I go in there, what is my, in a sense, standard? What is my thing? Whatever time I talk to someone, like, how do I approach things? Because my persuasion or my style is going to affect the debate, especially my approach to it. And so I try to use my methodological rationalism. And to me, it goes back to like the hammer of truth. Investigate, which is my ontology. Expose, which is my epistemology. And judge, which is my axiology. So it's my, methodological style in my rationalism. I feel like mostly what I am is a rationalist in how I approach things. I think and break down ideas. And what I try to do is break it down in the way that makes it somewhat easy for other people. Like some of the ideas I like can be really complicated, but my goal is not to let it stay complicated. I want to bring it down so everybody or more people can benefit from the ideas. And I'm trying to make it, also that people can have like a more utilize, type of a template or method to how to approach debate and how to do it in my way, And to me, yeah, like I said, it really is about how I express my epistemic rationality. And epistemic is like, my knowledge, my understanding, my desire for understanding. So my rationality is fixed, and what I try to really use is reason, which is my rationalism, evidence, which is like empiricism, because I feel like I'm not like one of those old rationalists that believe somehow that rationalism is separate, can be separate from any other. I think that for me, it's a grouping of productive tools. So of course I use empiricism when it's called for. And of course, I believe in filtering all of that through a critical view, a scrutiny, that before I take a thing and allow it to be a belief, during when I'm processing if I think it should be a belief, and then after, even if I've already accepted that it's a belief, I'm still open to it. My methodological skepticism style of I'm always being open to it being shown to be a little bit different or, changed upon valid and reliable reason and evidence. And I'll just do a little thing like this. So, do you believe in God? Now, one could answer this to me a lot of ways, but let's just say 3 different ways. So you could do it as a defense. Basically, you're going to talk about yourself, your own ideas, your own belief. And I would say it's the ontology involved because it's the what. What do you believe? Then, or you could turn it to an attack. So if you say, what's a God? I could turn it to an epistemology thing. And you talk about the other's claims about what a God could be. Or about the invalidness of how mixed claims don't seem to produce a trustable source. So the epistemology involved, you're asking them in a sense, their claims of how they know, like if, in other words, like I said, do I believe in God? I could just say, what's a God? And how do you know that, what a God is? So, or I can do both, or someone could do both. You could talk about oneself and the other's claims, comparing and contrasting their related value, the axiology involved. In other words, like showing, okay, well, so you have creationism right here on one side. It's never produced anything, and it's been found in the court of law to be not science. It had its day in court, and then intelligent design also had its day in court, and also was found to be not science. So we have these views that you hold to. Then we have science that won the day in court and has all the facts and evidence. Yeah. So in a sense, you could compare and contrast which really sounds more reasonable. So to me, that's sort of the thing. So it's like, I'm going to go back to a little more about the hammer of truth. So ontology, because I know I explain, and also understand, I use a lot of these philosophy things in a way that might be not standard because this is my own way. So if it sounds like somehow I use things in a new, different way, or it's because I am. So, or at least I believe I am. How's that? And I'm not trying to just be different. I'm just trying to use them what's productive for me and explain what I'm doing. So ontology, delineation. To me, when we focus on ontology, which is like the sense of thingness of things, its beingness, its way of becoming, all of its qualities, it's a little more than someone just saying a definition. A definition is like I'm asking for a subjective opinion. In other words, a definition is like a small statement that's a large generalization about what that thing is sometimes. Because it could be that that definition is wholly lacking in actually grasping the full depth, quality, and substance of an idea. But an ontology would. Because to me, an ontology is addressing all of its beingness, all of its qualities. So to me, that what I want to do when I ask ontology, if someone says like something, I want to unpack it. I want to, what are all its qualities? What do they really know about what they're offering? I want to lay it out before them, so both of us can see what is being said, what is being assumed, what is being believed, what is being claimed. Then we're going to see is this really valid and reliable? Is this reasonable amount to understand? Is this good expression? Does it have accurate qualities? In other words, I want to really look at it. So, and then to me, when I use epistemology and deconstruction, I unpack and lay bare the why. Before it was the what ontology, the what, and for me, epistemology, the why. Why is it being said, assumed, or believed? Is it valid and reliable in reasonable amount, expression, and or qualities? And then axiology, discrediting, unpack and lay bare how it is being said, assumed, believed, and is it valid and reliable in reasonable amounts, expression, and qualities. So ontology for me in the hammer of truth is the what. The epistemology in my hammer of truth in a sense is the why. And it could also be the how, like how do you know that? And then for the axiology, it's the how. How is it being said? And it can also be the why. Why is it being, offered in this way? Is it really accurate? And so to me, when you address thinking ontology, you identify what they're talking about. You investigate its thingness, its beingness, its purpose, how it works. And you question the elements or what is being involved, what is being offered. Is there an actual thingness, beingness, purpose, qualities? And then epistemology, you analyze the thinking. Identify how they can claim to know what they claim to know, as well as its detailed information, assumptions, implications, and challenge their belief etiquette on what they claim. Is there a way of acquiring what they have said they believe, know, in addition to what they say, how they claim to know? And then axiology, assess thinking. Identify how they can claim worth of the idea, value, accuracy, relevance, depth, significance, logic, reason, justification, warrant, fairness of how they know what they think they know. This refers to the assessment of thinking or supposed evidence and its value judging stage in the systemic inquiry, which is being challenged, and the quality of what is being offered is being evaluated and challenged. So I'm going to go in a little further on the hammer of truth, and I'm going to explain to you a little more. So ontology in Greek, means being that which is. Logos meaning discourse, the study, ratio, calculation, reason. Ontology is a philosophic study of the nature of being, becoming, existence, or reality, as well as the basic categories of being and their reasons, or relations. Epistemology, meaning knowledge, understanding, and logos, meaning discourse, study, ratio, calculation, and reason. It is the theory of knowledge, or it is pertaining to the understanding of the theories of knowledge. Theories people have of knowledge, or ways of understanding knowledge, especially with regards to its methods, its validity, its scope. Epistemology is the investigation of what distinguishes justified true belief from just mere opinion. Axiology is value, worth, and discourse study is the logos part. So in other words, axia, the value, worth, and then the last is the logos, study, ratio, calculation, reason. It is the philosophic study of value, as well as the ethics and also aesthetics, because once again, it's about value, judging, and assessment of value, and all the things that pertain to value, which, believe me, there's a lot, like most things have a value status to them. Formal axiology, which is a specific branch of social science of axiology. Axiology studies the goodness, value, worth, in the widest sense of these terms. Its significance lies in the unification that it has provided for the study of variety of questions, from economic, moral, aesthetic, and even logical, that have often been considered to be in isolation and not connected, but they are connected in axiology. So, the hammer of truth is the use of, in a sense, ontology, epistemology, axiology, in my style, questions to remove errors and to try to add accuracy, or, like I said, truth navigation. It is also my hammer of truth is like my folk name for, in a sense, what I would consider are scientific philosophy tools. In other words, ontology, because it cares about the nature of things and reality, it is addressing the things that are scientific, and I use it in a process in that way. Same with epistemology, the fact that science is trying to understand, how do you know that? So, and then axiology, the fact you can judge things is very important. So to me, all these are not, when you say, some people say philosophy, they mean like, oh, that I believe in mystical things or my way of living. No, these are about what you're talking about, at least how I use them especially. It's more like just tools. So I'll go over again more on hammer of truth, which is ontology, epistemology, and axiology. And these are things I use massively in debates or discussions. So ontology is concerned with, or is addressing in a sense, or is that's what you're wanting them to address, is what the nature of being is that they're talking about, or what can rightly be claimed to even as existing as a being, a thing, or a defined idea, qualities, including that its potential can be said to have qualities that attach to truth, or things that are built up enough that can produce the belief in something like facts, or be seen as real evidence, or as something existing in reality, or even the possibility of real concepts. In other words, something that it could be, because it's not outside the realm of reality possibilities. In other words, saying that magic is real, well, there's no magic for me to go off of, but saying that there's, so I couldn't say the percentage chance that magic could exist. I don't know. There's nothing to work off of. If you say that there could be, planet in our solar system we can't see, well, that could be. Because we know there's a thing called planets all over the place. So it really matters about thinking about what we're being offered. So epistemology, is what is the nature of knowledge? Or what can rightly be claimed as existing as truth, fact, evidence, including, things like that how we come to knowledge and how we establish knowledge, even in science. Sometimes these are they seem like dry, topics, but believe me, if you ever debate religious people, you're going to need to address these. Whether you know it or not. Axiology. And last is addressing the nature of value, good, worth, beneficialness, or can rightly be extended accuracy, and the things that address and that could be beneficial or could be good or could have potential worth or contain conditions and qualities to be truth or to be accuracy and facts, or evaluated as actual evidence, or be acknowledged as, containing enough of what is worthy or productive. So that's axiology. So ontology, epistemology, axiology, OEA, or what I call my folk term, the hammer of truth. So OEA, hammer of truth questions. So I'm going to go through them a little bit with you. So ontology, epistemology, axiology, questioning tools are for inquiry, disagreements, arguments, or debates. Ontology, the thingness of things. Your questions are done to define or compare or contrast thingness. And to me, the contrast part is like the dialectical rhetoric. You take a fact. Well, this is what we do know about the universe. This is what you're offering, and you're showing, do these things really match? And look at the qualities this has and not the qualities this. You're like reasoning with them. It's like you're helping them understand critical thinking. Epistemology, the knowledge of things, or what can be known. Questions to explore, to establish, to confirm knowledge. A lot of people will claim things they know, but they more likely believe, and then actually they kind of just have faith a lot of times. So axiology is the value, the worth, the goodness of things, the accuracy, the establishment of things. So questions to valueize or value judge, to establish, to confirm value or its disvalue, worth or disworth, as well as goodness and what is seen as ungood or not good or is harmful. So, expressed in its simplest form, the hammer of truth, ontology, epistemology, and axiology, we and critical thinkers in general should adopt, to me, rationality assumptions. These are necessary, constraints and, ways of exploring for truth. That, to me, I think that if you don't get standards, you're just going to have the error of not having accuracy. It's like if a person's going to be a good sports player, they don't just do it once and go, okay, I'm an expert now, and then never practice anymore. They never build themselves up. So I think it's really interesting that, religious people, a lot of times they're indoctrinated. They're trained or whatever. There's even if they're not, you can go to church and you can become indoctrinated. There's places that it's a lot harder when you're an atheist to get ways of dealing with people, understanding yourself or others, and because we're not taught. There's not some things, and I'm not saying mine's the end all only kind of thing. I'm just saying it's the way it works. And it's my way, and I'm just expressing it. There could be other ways. Great. 10,000 ways. Why do we need just one way? I just think that all the ways, if we can, should be thoughtful, should be teaching, and should be ethical. This is just my way. Anyway, so to me, I see it, if you break down what the different things, in a sense, ontology is like gatherers. You're like gathering the information for them. You're not, when you're doing that, you're not really judging it. You're in a right away. You gather it, then you judge, because you can't, in a sense, do a good judgment if you haven't gathered all the information that they're trying to offer. Sometimes we already know, because I've dealt with, like I say, a religious person who's a Christian tons of times. And so when a Christian starts saying things, it's not like I 100% know, but I kind of know what they're going to say a lot of times. Because they're not super original. They all go to church and they all learn this little, like, dogma stuff. So yeah, it's kind of not that hard, really. Sometimes the people can be different, but in general, it's kind of the same things. But I still need to be patient with them, or at least compassionate. So an epistemology is an inquisitor. It's really investigating your claim. How do you know that? It's really wanting to do. And then axiology is judging. It is taking all that stuff and it's really evaluating it and holding it accountable, or finding it, in error. So I want to say, thank you for your time. And as always, if anybody has any questions, certainly feel free to ask. I will put a blog, that coincides with this and can be referenced and used. So just think of the hammer of truth like a debate court. So ontology is using reality questions or assertions, and it's wanting, in a sense, the witness, the person who's claiming, to give evidence about the claim. The epistemology is about the truth, right? So it's questioning the assertion. So in a sense, it's almost like a lawyer who's searching for the warrant or the justification. Like, do you really have it? And so the axiology is like the goodness for, in a sense, or the quality of. Questions the assertions. It's judging and assessing the value. It's judging because of the qualities and finding out, are they lacking or do they fulfill the claim? And I just want to real quick again go through it. Another thing. As always, try to follow this attack order of ontology first. Understanding the thingness of things, like what is or can be real, like not a God. So just think, what is your claim? So ontology, what is your claim that they're offering? Or what is their claim? What aspects must there be for their claim? What makes their claim different from other similar claims? Epistemology, understanding what you know or can know, as in, do you have the things in this reality to know about them? This term, like such, people call God. How do we know that this has any quality to it? And understanding what is their way of thinking that they know, because they're claiming to not know reality or naturalism. What they're claiming to know, as if they have some proof, is that there's something that's supernatural, when we know there isn't anything that is not naturalism beyond this universe and this reality in a way that can be tested, proven, shown, demonstrated, or even pondered. So to me, we're asking them, how do you know your claim? How reliable or valid must the aspects of this claim be for them to think this? We want them to get them thinking. How do they trust the source of their claim? And how can they trust when there is different of the same claim, but there's similar claims? In other words, like, people will say there's a God, but even someone says, I'm a Christian. Well, that doesn't tell you very much, because there's a lot of kinds of Christians. And even if they tell you, well, I'm a Baptist. Well, Baptist what? Because there's a Southern Baptist. There's a lot of kind of Baptists. Even if you figured out what a Southern Baptist is, there's still people that will not agree with everything they said because it's a bunch of self-deception. They just take these ideas, they believe some, and then they mix their own ideas. Why people go and find new places, new churches, new stuff. It really is the same thing, though. The reason these ideas is because they're not real. See, something that's real, we don't have 50,000 opinions about the color of the sun. We know what it is from view, and we know what it is from science. Those aren't the same. There's more colors being admitted than we see from our visual eye, but that doesn't mean that both, in a sense, are true things. It's just, it depends on what you're talking about. If we're talking about just view, well, it looks yellow or yellowish. And then science knows it's a bunch of colors that are coming out of that. But to me, it's addressing the aspects, the depth, the quality, the precision of the claims. And this is something I really try, as much as I can with my stuff, is to try to be precision. And if it's not, I try to explain that it's just, my global opinion. So axiology, we understanding the good, the value. It would understand things like what is, for them, what they're calling sinful and evil. For us it'd be harmful. It could be evil to me. Evil to me is just an extreme form of harm. I don't see it as some supernatural anything. And then also, our behavior's unvaluable. Axiology is good at assessing that. Like a lot of times the theist gods, they're often racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic. They seem hateful to their own, and often, like, even in the Bible. There's a thing where in the Bible it talks about where Moses and the people are wanting to give offerings to God, but I think it was like 78 people or something like that. I can't remember now exactly, but want to give offerings, and it was an incense that was unpleasing to God, so he killed them all. Yeah. I wouldn't follow any person that murdered people for trying to worship them with the wrong incense. I mean, if that God was real, evil would be at least applicable. And that's understanding the axiology of what's really being talked about, what's really involved. Behavior has a consequence. So we can address the unvaluable behavior and even the unvaluable concept of God, because in a sense it often is promoting such evil and harmful things to a valuable human society. And so to me, we're addressing why are these things being proposed. What value do they have? Is it a subjective psychological state? Is it an objective psychological external state that they're claiming? Is it what's the difference for them? How much are they trying to blend? Because some people were like, well, there's a baby's face when it smiles. I was told this, when a baby smiles on its face, that's because God's real. So if a baby's face when it smiles is, you believe, is evidence of God, so does that mean when a baby frowns that it's being possessed with the devil? So to me, it's just ridiculous claims. But anyways, you want to ask them to be descriptive, to describe the qualities, which, people will say qualities of God like powerful, knowing, present, What? Where do they get off even justifying the assertion like all powerful? There has to be a limit to some power. Certainly there's nothing that's all powerful in reality. How about all knowing? Nope, nothing's all knowing in reality. All present, like as in everywhere, at all times. Yeah, don't know anything about that. So far they've offered 3 non-reality things: all powerful, all knowing, all present. Yeah, none of that's even, Those are non-reality claims. So even like even suns die, even the universe in a sense had a big bang or a beginning, or maybe it was a succession of big bangs, and there's just multiple bangs. They're just continually going. It's like how stars turn into black holes or quasars, and then how everything stardust turns into us. I mean, it's all like a bunch of evolution. So we want to understand, what is the value of what they're saying. Like, what is it valuable for? Why is it good? Why is it, what is it worth for? What is its substance? What is it quality? Why does it equal that? And what is it, goodness of? So these claims, you're looking for a different kind of thing as value. So like I said, those are my 3 things. And thank you for your time. Have a great day.